The 2024 horror film Tarot has some seriously questionable character decisions that have left audiences pretty frustrated. But hey, those choices are what keep the story moving. The movie follows a group of college students being hunted by a spirit tied to their horoscope and tarot readings. Reviews haven't been too kind, calling out the characters for their shallow thinking. Honestly, a lot of the chaos, and even the whole plot, could have been avoided if they just stopped to think and communicate. The ending doesn't help much either. It's pretty vague and doesn't set up a sequel clearly. That said, here's everything we've got on the Tarot 2 first look. Let's dive in. Tarot dives into whether fate is truly set in the stars or if people can change their destiny. Based on Nicholas Adams' 1992 novel Horrorscope, it follows a group of students on a weekend trip who stumble upon an old tarot deck in the mansion they've rented. Haley decides to do tarot readings for fun, but things quickly take a dark turn. After their getaway, the group starts dying one by one, each killed by a creature linked to the last card from their reading. They eventually figure out the connection, but can't stop the deaths as they unintentionally follow the predictions. Desperate, they consult an occultist who dealt with the cursed deck in the past, leading to a showdown with the spirit tied to the cards. Haley uses her tarot skills to do a reading for the spirit herself, reversing the curse and breaking its hold. In the climax, Haley and Grant confront the astrologer, the vengeful spirit behind the curse. Her tragic backstory reveals she bound her soul to the cards in the 1790s after her daughter was cruelly murdered. Haley empathizes with her pain, especially since she couldn't save her own mom from illness. This understanding helps free the astrologer's spirit, destroying the deck and lifting the curse. Meanwhile, Paxton, true to his reading as the Fool, separates from the group and gets stalked by the arcana tied to him. After a creepy chase, he's seemingly killed in an elevator, but the screen cuts to black before anything definitive happens. Surprise! Paxton shows up alive at the end of the movie, right as Grant and Haley are leaving the mansion. He explains that his roommate Todd opened the elevator just in time, making the Fool disappears. It's played for laughs, even if it feels a bit underwhelming as an explanation. One thing that still puzzles fans is how the astrologer's arcana creatures actually worked. These creepy entities, responsible for each violent fate, are more connected than they first appear. During Grant and Haley's final run through the mansion, it's revealed that all the arcana creatures, the ones that killed their friends, are actually the same being. This entity shapeshifts into whatever form corresponds to the final tarot card drawn in each reading. At one point, we even see it morph from Haley's terrifying death card creature into Grant's eerie devil. Although the movie doesn't outright explain it, it's heavily implied that the arcana are manifestations of the astrologer's vengeful spirit, which is tied to the deck and powers it. This detail adds an extra layer of horror and tragedy, as it suggests that the spirit's torment isn't just fueling the curse, it's directly carrying out the gruesome fates foretold by the cards. A potential Tarot 2 could really dive deeper into the mechanics of the arcana and their connection to the astrologer. For starters, it could explore how the spirit's emotional state or past memories influence the specific arcana forms. Is the transformation random, or is there some deeper symbolism tied to the victims and their fears? The sequel could also reveal more about the deck's history. Were there previous victims, and if so, how did the curse affect them? Perhaps new characters, like other survivors of the deck or experts on the occult, could step in to shed light on how to counteract the arcana's power without relying on empathy alone. Another fascinating angle would be to explore whether freeing the astrologer in the first film truly ended the curse, or if fragments of her spirit still linger. Maybe the deck, though destroyed, left behind residual energy that sparks a new round of terror. If the arcana creatures return, Tarot 2 could focus on how they evolve without the astrologer actively controlling them. Are they still manifestations of her pain, or have they become independent forces? By tackling these questions and expanding on the lore, Tarot 2 could elevate the story and give fans the clarity they craved from the first film, while also setting the stage for even more haunting twists. Another aspect of Tarot that left viewers scratching their heads is how the characters kept leaning into their readings, making decisions that almost guaranteed their demise. It's a classic horror trope for characters to make bad choices, wandering off alone, heading straight into danger, or ignoring obvious red flags. Tarot uses this trope heavily, but with an interesting twist. Their poor decisions are tied to their personality traits, as revealed in their tarot readings. Take Madeline, for instance. When the car breaks down, she knows the entity is lurking outside, but she still gets out of the car. Why? Her reading described her as someone who runs from things rather than facing them, and that's exactly what she does. Similarly, Paxton's reading calls him headstrong, which explains why he stubbornly decides to head back to his dorm to wait it out, ignoring every sign that this plan is doomed. The idea here is that the characters' actions aren't just random or stupid for the sake of the plot. They're guided by who they are, making their fates feel inevitable. It's like the deck doesn't just predict their doom, it nudges them toward it, exploiting their deepest flaws and tendencies. A sequel could explore this idea further by questioning whether the characters truly had no control over their actions, or if they could have fought against their nature. Could their personalities be changed, or were they always doomed to follow the path laid out by the cards? Maybe Tarot 2 could introduce a character who recognizes this manipulation and actively works to resist it, showing that fate isn't as unchangeable as it seems. It would also be interesting to explore how the readings interact with free will. Do the arcanic creatures intervene to steer the characters, or is it purely psychological, where the characters believe they're powerless to act differently because of their readings? A deeper dive into the mechanics of the deck could bring in a new layer of tension, especially if some characters manage to break the cycle while others remain trapped in it. Tarot concludes with the astrologer's spirit being released and the deck of cards seemingly destroyed once and for all. While this doesn't necessarily set up a direct path for a sequel, the movie established some decent lore, even if it did rely a bit too much on exposition dumps. There's room for a prequel that could explore the card's origins or other instances where the deck was used, perhaps as a fun period piece set in the 1960s at the Woodstock Music Festival. The characters and the tarot cards themselves weren't fully explored, so there's potential for a sequel that delves deeper into these elements. Haley, Grant, and Paxton all survived the movie, so they could potentially return to face another iteration of the deck, having already experienced its effects once. Given Tarot's mixed early reviews, a sequel seems unlikely, even if it turned a modest profit. On the other hand, Haley and Grant reconcile their differences, which came to a head during their readings. The movie leaves things on a positive note, suggesting that each person controls their own destiny. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.